In the Torah portion of Vayeitzei, which, by the way, going back only 36 years of my life, 2 times high, it's my Torah portion, my bar mitzvah Torah portion. Now you know how old I am. But it's a Torah portion that dealing with a lot of family dynamics. Dealing with, first and foremost, Jacob is really departed from Beersheba because he is in a great trepidation. He fear of death. He fear that Esau, his brother, is going to kill him. His mother suggested that he better leave as soon as possible, and he get the blessing from his father, and he ran away. But it's also dealing with a great fear. We have, doing the Melaveh Malka, the Shabbat Saturday night meal, it's called Melaveh Malka, escorting the Shabbat. A very well-known song, you find it in a prayer book. It's called Al Tira Avdi Yaakov, fear not my servant Jacob. It's go by the alphabetical order. Why Jacob have such a great fear? He have the blessing from God that thing will be fine. He has a blessing from his father and mother. He goes to his basically family, the uncle Laban in that place in Haran later is the destination that the mother sent him. Yes, he is not sure about direction, but still there's no reason for having such a great fear. Yet the rabbis dwell at length to explain to us that Jacob afraid of the unknown. Afraid of the unknown, first is the afraid of Esau, because Esau it's not stable and he can take vengeance later on. He's afraid, some said, because Esau did a lot of good deeds. In a sense, he was raised in such a house, he learned certain things in a house, even he has a very bad behavior and very bad traits out in the field, like killing animals for fun and doing all kind of horrible things, yet still he has some mitzvot and some good privileges, merited, zchutim, that maybe stand for him. It's go deeper in the Jewish thought and a lot in the Jewish writings. The rabbis dwell on the fact that there is a concept we call olam haba, which is an afterlife. Jewish people believe, like many other religions followed, that this life is short and there is a continuation. And in that sense, the punishment and reward apply sometimes after life. The idea of continuation of life apply to many avenues in the way that we behave in preparation to afterlife, as the Mishnah tells us in the Ethics of the Father. Yet, the rabbis ask in the Talmud, in Tractate Brachot, the rabbi asks, if that's the case, how come in this life you see righteous people suffering and bad people, evil people have a great life? So one of the common interpretation in Talmud, again you go back almost 2,000 years, is the idea that those people get reward for their few good deeds in this world. Since this world is transient and the brevity of life, in other words, this world is very, very short, and because it's short and unpredictable, in a way, the heavenly court gives the person the reward in immediate manner, in order for that soul to be, which we call Gehinom or afterlife or hell or whatever you call it in different methodologies, is getting to the destination that the soul really deserved to. So in that sense, the fear of Jacob was the fear that since Esau did several good deeds and he get rewards by his tremendous wealth and whatever he have at this time, therefore it may, all of his merited will not withstand when it's come to direct war. And you see it later, not just at the end of this week to our portion, that he needed special escorts of like angels, like heavenly emissaries that escorted him but also in the next parsha, there is great preparation for the meeting with his brother Esau. Remember, the departure between the two brothers is about 35 years, which is 22 years that he walked for Laban, and then the rest of the years. So it's involved, in short, the Vayeitzei with a tremendous turmoil, tumultuous feeling of Jacob between loneliness, fear of the unknown, dealing with horrible, crook, unscrupulous person as Laban, dealing with the issues with the wives, Rachel and Leah, dealing with the issue with the children, which lead to another important point. The rabbis in the rabbinic writings, not only in the Talmud, but following Talmud, the Geonic era and others, they call Yaakov in a special name. He's called Bechir Ha'avot, the chosen of the forefathers. What do you mean? So even Abraham and Isaac and other forefathers were great, but the challenges that Jacob went through is uncomparable to anyone else. The idea that he was able to overcome those challenges, it showed that in a way he has a special trait, special capability to overcome tremendous challenges. It's come from the school of thought that Hashem, the Almighty, will not bestow upon a person a state of challenges in life if he or she don't have the capability to overcome. In other words, God is not giving a person a task that it's above his ability. That's the school of thought. Following that idea, Jacob was able to overcome it. Let me share with you a Mishnah. The Mishnah is in the Ethics of the Fathers, chapter 4, Mishnah 23. The Mishnah said, Rabbi Yanai Omer, Rabbi Yanai said, Anu en lanu, we don't have mi shalvat hareshaim umi surei tzadikim. We do not comprehend, we never be able to fully comprehend the great quote-unquote life of the wicked versus the suffering of the righteous. That's just one line statement, which brings a lot of questions. What Rabbi Yanai meant when he said that statement? And the rabbis go at length to explain that the story of the narrative of Jacob and Esau is an example of what Rabbi Yanai meant. You read the story last week of Esau coming from the field, tired, killing animals, raping women, doing all kind of terrible things that the Torah and the Midrash tells us. He's hungry. Jacob preparing the famous lentil soup. Esau wants the soup. Jacob said, if you sell me the birthright, I'll give you the soup. Esau said, who knows if I'm going to make it next day? I'm going on over all these challenges between killing and wrestling and fighting and all this blood involved in my life. Who needs this birthright? Take it, just give me the soup. So they make a deal, they make a full contract between the two. And since they're basically born together, the Torah tells us that Jacob hold his heel. And that's named Jacob, it's heel, that he holds his brother Esau heel. So therefore it's a question in the first place, who is the firstborn. But since Jacob valued the idea of firstborn, therefore they make the transactions. However, later, when you read the story how Rebecca heard that Isaac is going to bless Esau, and she realized that he's not valuing those blessings, it can go in vain, and she wants the proper blessing to the right son, and Isaac is blind, etc. She twisted between the children. She asked Jacob to honor his mother and to carry the dress of Esau and to appear before Isaac, so he gets the proper blessing that he deserved. When Esau came and he was all angry over that, and he get the blessings, if you read carefully between the lines, what happened is Esau basically gets what he wants to. Isaac blessed Esau in a way almost the same as Jacob. He said to him, from the dew of heaven you will dwell. Mital hashamayim yihyeh moshavecha. You dwell from the dew of heaven, which means you have all the money you wish to. Yaakov also was blessed. But the way that Yaakov was blessed by Isaac was V'yiten lecha Elokim, that God will bestow upon you the dew from heaven, etc., etc. So the rabbis dwell on that and said to us that the feud between Jacob and Esau started there, right there, because Esau asked, which called Moshavecha. Moshavecha is like the word yeshiva. What is the meaning of the word yeshiva? Yeshiva literally meaning that the person who sits. Lashevet is to sit. You go to yeshiva, you see people are eating and doing other things, sleeping. So the key point is that the central focal of their lives is around sitting and studying. That's called yeshiva. So Esau was blessed with moshavecha, with yeshiva, but with what you wish. You get what you wish. You want money and you want this materialistic world, you have it. That's what... Versus Jacob, and you see it later on when they met next week, Jacob said, I don't need all of that. The wealth that came later in his life was basically God said, all right, you sit and study, you need food, you need sustenance, I'll give it to you. But it wasn't the goal of his life. It was something that can help him serve God properly. It's something to help him with education of his children. So when later on you read the text and you see the dynamic between the brothers, it's huge difference. Everyone is in a different state of mind. Now, since Jacob is filled...
Say he sat and he studied. What was he studying?
What he's studying, according to our sources, he studied which we call the voluntarily mitzvot, which is the 7 Noahide laws, the mitzvot that apply a relationship between people, the social justice and things like that, that we may call it, if you teach just little children, you tell that child, Jacob studied the whole Torah, but it was voluntarily before Moses transmitted. If you go to adulthood, you may dig deeply and you say that it's applied to those applications that people needs to learn as a very, very basic foundation of proper life. God said at the beginning of the book of Genesis that a person was born with evil inclination. Yetzer leva adam ra minurav. A person was created with a tendency to do bad. And if you don't train him properly, he can be, like the Torah used the word, wild beast. So the proper training is the social justice, the fulfillment of the rights of people. The 7 Noahide laws, for example, prohibited non-Jews, not only Jews, to kill animals or to take part of the animals while they're still alive, to do cruelty to animals. So that's a rational, logical, social justice that applied to the relationship between people. Yes?
So this is the one segment of the Torah that makes me very angry.
Oh, that's good. If it makes you angry, it means you care. That's good statement. You have a chair out there.
It makes me angry because, first of all, I've read it carefully many times, and I have read the Midrash, it's true. But there's almost nothing in this part of the Torah that, factually, that supports the idea that Esau was such an evil person. On the contrary, his father loved him, and after all, Isaac was a righteous, very intelligent fellow, and his own son. Isaac loved him very much. He obviously loved his father. He honored his father. His father wanted food near the end of his life. He went out, hunted, brought food back. When his father died, he buried his father. He mourned his father's death. When he meets Jacob later on, he embraces Jacob. They kiss each other. They obviously love each other on some level. On the other hand, Yaakov did some terrible things. He relied on trickery and lying and deception to get something that really properly wasn't. It may have been the prophecy, that's true, and maybe Rivka was sort of acting to fulfill the prophecy, and we have to respect that. But, and according to Orthodox Judaism, if you follow the art scroll edition anyway, whatever Yaakov does gets whitewashed. It was understandable, it was justified, it was proper really in the long run, and whatever thing Esau does, anything under the sun that Esau does, is evil. It doesn't matter what good he does, somehow it gets twisted around that it must be evil. He was faking, he was lying, he was using trickery, he had bad motives. It's like, come on. I accept the fact that there's some things in the Torah that are mysterious and we can't understand them, and I don't like them, but I accept them because it's the Word of God. But to whitewash something like this, I think is deplorable.
All right, I hear you. The truth of the matter is that the problem, one of the key problems with study text is, it's applied to any religion, by the way, is who has the right over study the text. Which means you can always say that it's a free world and everyone study whatever they wish to. The big argument that many religions have, not only Jewish faith, many other religions have, is the idea that people who are not properly or fully educated comment over something that they don't have a full comprehension of the whole process of learning, process of understanding, and more importantly, proper background. That's not to say that the rabbis not disagree over endless issues, but it is, by all means, not only by orthodoxy, as you said, the idea of understanding the text not in a literal sense. We discussed many times that literal text, many times, eye for eye, it's not what Judaism stands for. So if you take the oral text with the written text, then you see a very different picture than the written text. That very strong opposition against oral teaching happens since the Talmudic time within the Jewish community. The big argument, again and again and again, is who has the right to interpret the text. So if you come to a conclusion that every person at any level have any right to interpret any text, then you can say whatever you wish to. If you think that you need someone who's fully educated toward a process of learning which takes many years, then you see that the perception of text is sometimes different than the appearance. One of the questions that always come up is the idea of the text in a sense of esoteric text or literal text. It's a figurative text, it's a literal text, an anthropomorphic text, or it's a text that really anybody, you pick somebody on the street and read the text and that person can give you full comprehension and understanding. I think in one point we both agree that not everyone is capable to give proper interpretation of text. Even, let's digress for a second, even you take the Quran for the faith of Islam, within the Islam world there are many schools of thoughts that create a bloodshed over the history, and the key point is who has the right to interpret the Quran and how far you could go with interpretation. Again, the key point is there's a group of people, for example the Shia, that stand just for the literal text strictly as possible. You have the Sunnah that said no, you have Mu'tazila, you have other interpretation of the text. It has to be broader. Sometimes, like the Sufis, are much esoteric than the text itself. The Havdil, no comparison. We have in Judaism the same idea. Yes, you have many controversies in the Talmud, even in the Mishnah, over what did I heard from my great-grandmother, or what exactly the divine meaning when they tell us to build a sukkah. But to go and to say that just me as a reader of the text makes me angry to think that it's a whitewash of one character and painting bad another character, I think it's going to go very, very far away from understanding, for one single reason. I do not, my intent is not to disagree or agree with you at this very moment. My intent is to share with you the idea that a student has to go through a certain process of learning before giving opinion, especially if that opinion is basically opposite than traditional Judaism teach.
One more short
Yeah.
thought in reply. God also tells us that I'm giving you the Torah. It's a
Correct.
perfect document. Don't add to it or subtract.
Correct.
And the plain meaning is still the plain meaning. I agree that you can interpret things and read between the lines and there are nuances, but the plain meaning is the plain meaning, and to adopt a meaning that is 180 degrees in opposition to the plain meaning, that somebody that seems to be good is now evil, and somebody that is sinning is not sinning, I think, I would submit, is maybe going too far the other way.
All right, so I'll say this. You are not alone in that opinion. Yes, there are some rabbis who come with some ideas that basically disagree with the school of thought of others. But again, I can go with you in that path and share with you what some of them said. But again, the point of departure is of understanding that it's very easy to give an opinion over something that you and I were not there, and we just have all kind of assumptions. It's much easier to give opinion over something that we are basically just reading first time. It's harder for those people who are relatively less generation than us, who get somehow the transmission of tradition from one generation to the next and come to some type of consensus over interpretations. Now, as a side note, or following what you said, it's a great commentary in the past generation, 19th century, whose name is Rabbi Chaim ben Attar. Rabbi Chaim ben Attar was a great giant Sephardic rabbi, lived in the 19th century, and he wrote a commentary. It's called Or HaChaim, the light of life. His commentary, almost, not far, but almost like Rashi, incorporated with the Chumashim in Hebrew worldwide. There are study groups that study almost solely every week Or HaChaim, his interpretation, the holy Rabbi Chaim. In that sense, he has a very strong opinion over that. He used the term, when you read in the Torah that Rebecca asked Isaac to, it's in the chapel, asked Isaac to switch, Jacob to switch around and to take Esau's clothes, he said, I'm paraphrasing, almost quoting in my best recollection, he said, Tzarot rabot sovevu lebnei ameinu. Many sorrows are avoided or can be avoided if Rebecca did not behave in such a way. The great Hasidic master, the Baal Shem Tov, about 285 years ago, explained that Or HaChaim in that sense, or the school of thought of Or HaChaim in a little different direction. He said, take as a allegorical idea, you have a man that owns a nightclub or bar, but also have a lot of money in his bank. And that person have two sons. One son is a problematic. Another one sits study all day. The man passed away and he left a will. They opened the will, and to the great surprise of the family, he wrote something that looks very, very weird. He said that the one who's is not good, he inherited all of his money. The one who sit and study all day, he inherited the bar. So no one understand. The son, especially the good son, was a little bit frustrated or upset. But everyone accepted that's the will. So guess what happened? A year later, all the money of the bad son ends up in his brother's nightclub. So a year later, the good son have both, have the money and the bar. So what is this? What is this idea has to do with Jacob and Esau? What Baal Shem tried to say and Or HaChaim tried to say is, Rebecca came from a house of Laban, house of Bethuel, a house of people who are very unscrupulous, crooked people. Isaac came from the house of Sarah and Abraham, which is a house of kindness, of righteousness. Even both of them, Rebecca and Isaac, both of them were righteous people, but it's uncomparable the level of and the background of Isaac versus his wife Rebecca. So even the Torah said that Isaac was blind, or literally or really blind. Isaac had the idea of prognostication, of prophesying the future, understand, foresee what's happening. Now, what happened, he blessed one son, which is Jacob, with all the wealth. When Esau came afterward and he said, what about me? Isaac said to him, you serve your brother, but the minute your brother take off his yoke, you are free. So what happened in reality? The Or HaChaim said that you go to Saudi Arabia, they have a lot of wealth, right? So they said, many commentators like Yonatan ben Uziel, many other great commentators said that as long as the descendants of Jacob follow the way of Torah life, then they have the blessing. The minute they take it away, everything turn around. So in that sense, Rebecca heard that her husband is planning to give the blessing to Esau. She was upset because she felt he's not deserving it. While Isaac planning, according to Or HaChaim, to do the opposite, which is to give the blessing to Esau, but to condition it that he needs to follow the path that he learned at home. And if he's not, then everything is going to his brother. And then Jacob will come and said, what happened to me? So he said to him, that blessing is conditional. Since he turned it around, so it happens the opposite way, which is Jacob get the whole blessing, but he lost it for Esau because he's not following his descendants in a way, not following the path of the ancestors. So I'm giving you a school of thought of Or HaChaim that try to bring a different phase of understanding. But it's definitely not that the rabbi tried to wash Esau and make him bad, or Jacob a good. It's much deeper. And it's the idea that since you and I never met personally those characters, we understand the spirit of their lives. We understand that it was something in Jewish history relate to those names. We have to accept one important theological method, which is teaching us proper way of life. So when you're dealing with people, especially children, you need to paint the character in a certain way in order for people to clearly understand the difference between the character. And since you and I never met those characters, we have to follow the idea of understanding what is evil or what is bad and what is good. That's the goal. The goal is not to go to court and bring a defendant to one character and make the other character good or bad.
The problem, I mean, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
Because there's a term that you use that's thrown around a lot these days called social justice.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk to three different people, you'll get three different things as to what happens. If you believe in that concept, that means you take something from somebody because he doesn't deserve it and give it to somebody else. What does that mean? Someone has to make a judgment as to who deserves what.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with what you're talking about now. When you say who has a right to interpret, who knows who has a right to interpret?
I'll tell you who. I tell you who. What the field you study in medical? What is your specialty in medical? Radiology. I don't have much experience in radiology. But there is a situation that you're teaching radiology and I come into a class and you open one of these expert books and we study together. And I have my comments, how it looks like, if I don't have background in radiology.
Well, it's a little different there.
Why?
Why?
You know how many years the Rambam study? You know how many years Rashi study?
Right. But in one sense it's different, in another sense it's not. In what the subject you're talking about that I spent many years studying, every few years something else would show up because it's based on findings, research, comparisons. That's not what as I understand it.
You're saying it's changeable
All the time. Depends on what.
But yes.
But the concept that we started with, social justice. Someone has to make a decision.
Yes. So the decision is what. It's not just social justice. It's the whole idea that take
that's a very popular
average rabbi, okay, focusing on study of about 7 years of that person's life, just over full-time job over biblical studies. So you cannot take a graduate from all those years and put together with someone who has no background, the same, materials, and expect both of them to have the same level of understanding. So what I try to say is not to discourage people from giving opinion, and not from saying that his opinion has no validation, but to say that we have to go in a little above that level, much deeper. And the deepest level is to think what this has to do with me, what this to do with my life. Since you and I do not have the privilege to meet those characters in person, and we not even watch on TV to know the quote-unquote evidence that those people brings to TV, so we have to judge just by the way we learn, and we have to judge by what exactly the text wants to say to me in my life.
Well, again, isn't that still is a judgment call here, for example?
But you're saying you're studying in the present and new information is coming out, but this has been going on for 5,000 years, and there's rare books that maybe some people had the benefit of reading or that don't even exist anymore and got handed down verbally. And there's translations and things get lost. Like, I read something that said they cut off his hand. They didn't, that got lost in the translation. Because I said to the rabbi, why would they, that's like an eye for an eye thing. Why would they cut off his hand because he did that? The rabbi said they didn't. They told him he had to pay a fine.
Correct. It's not me, it's the Talmud said. But the key point is, back to our main discussion, the key point is, the character of Esau and Yaakov is a character that you can match in your life. That's the point. I give you several examples. Trace a situation, you're working for someone, and every 3 months, changing the contract. You sign a contract with someone, and then that employer come back to you 3 months later with a different story. And you don't understand this, and you didn't understand it, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, I'm not going to pay you, I'm not going to... and drive you crazy. Very upsetting. Anyone exposed to this type of personality? I'm sure some people sometimes in their lives. It sometimes happens in the working place, sometimes even with the family members or spouse or other people that change their mind and turn to be very crooked. So, in the text, in this week portion, Jacob dealing with that character is the character of Laban. So you can go ahead and say, oh, it's only painting Laban bad. That's not the key. The key point is to understand the dynamics. What's the proper behavior? Because in a way, Jacob was a man of Torah and man of God and study. However, in a certain situation, Jacob behaved differently. Why? Because he needs to speak with Laban the way that he understands things. And since Laban tricked him so badly, the beginning he said to him, come, oh, it's lovely to have you here. My nephew, it's wonderful to have you here. The next thing he said, oh, you want my daughter? Walk 7 years. And then he walks for him 7 years. Jacob woke up in the morning, and what happened?
Wrong daughter.
The wrong wife. He went to Laban and says, what's going on here? Oh, in our community there is a different custom. We don't marry the first daughter first. You have to work for this one another 7 years, and then I give you that one. I have to give you this one first, Leah, because that's the minhag in our community. Right? And then, when he's sick and tired and he left him, and Laban ran after him, right? You read at the end of the Parsha that God warned Laban, don't do harm to him, etc. And they make agreement, and the Torah tells us, it's very interesting text. The Torah said to us that they make agreement. Laban called that place Yegar Sahaduta, which is Aramaic word, very rarely in the Torah, Aramaic word. And Yaakov called that place Gal'ed. And the rabbi said again and again, is the character of Laban, which is the character of very crooked person. That he tried to say, no, the contract was different. It's not what you think. It's in a different location. It means something else. Even when you look at the next page, for example, page 69, 14. So when Laban said to him, nevertheless, you are my flesh and blood, and you stay with him a month time. Next thing, the Laban said to Jacob, just because you are my relative, should you serve me for nothing? Tell me what is your wages. So you have 2 daughters, right? So Jacob loved Rachel. So he said, okay, I'll work for you 7 years for Rachel. But he doesn't say just Rachel. He said to him, you younger daughter. Why he said to him, you younger daughter? Because he knew he can trick him easily. Right? So Laban said, oh, sure. So Jacob worked 7 years, 20. And Jacob said, deliver me my wife. And the next thing, page 71, he wake up in the morning, is different. 25. Jacob said to him in the morning, behold, it was Leah. So he said to Laban, what is they have done to me? What is not that for Rachel that I work for you? We have deceived me. So Laban said, oh, such is not done in our place, to give the young daughter before the elder. Complete the week in this one, and he give you the other 2. So he walked another 7 years. It's the whole story, the whole parsha is how crooked is Laban, how unscrupulous, twisted things, terribly, terribly, all the times. And then when Jacob ran away, right, and Laban tried to chase him, Jacob was very angry. So Jacob started screaming at him. And look at 75. Jacob started talking to his wives and make a decision to flee from Laban. So he said to them, sentence 5, said to them, Samuel Rachel, he said to them, I've noticed that your father's disposition is not toward me as in early days, but the God of my father is with me. Now you have known that it was not with all might that I served your father, yet your father, what happened? Mocked me and changed my wages 100 times. Right? But God did not permit him to harm me. If he will stipulate, speckle 1 shall be your wages, then the entire flock both separate 1. Then he speculated ring 1, and he changed every so often. You can say, like some rabbi said, 3 months or whatever it is. Every few months he changed his mind. So bad that he is there. And Laban ran after him. And what did he say? He said, you ran away from me. And Jacob responded. He said to him, 36, next page, 77, 36. Then Jacob became angry and he took his grievance with Laban. Jacob spoke up to Laban and says, what is my transgression? What is my sin that you have haughtily pursue me? When you rummaged through all my things, what did you household objects? Right? 38. These 20 years I have been with you. Your she-goats never miscarried, not did you. I eat rams from a few flock, which means I never cheated you. Right? I always did it. Right? However, at the end of the sentence, what he said to him? He said to him at the end of the sentence, I myself will bear the loss. For me, you will exact it, whether it is stolen the day or stolen by night. Right? And then he said, in 20 years I served, and you changed, 2 lines from the bottom, and you changed my wages Again, he repeats it 100 times. So, it's in the book of So in the book of Tehillim, book of Psalms, King David tells us exactly what Yaakov meant. Page 1449, 1449. This is Psalm number 18. 1449, Psalm number 18. The text said as follows. Okay? David said, for the conductor, by the servant of Hashem, by David, who spoke the word of his song. Right? So he said, sentence 5. With praises I call you Hashem, and I save for my enemies, etc., etc. And then he goes to number 26. Any volunteer to read number 26? Please. 26. Loud.
With the devout you act devoutly. With the wholehearted men you act wholeheartedly. With the pure you act purely. And with the crooked you act perversely. For it is you who saves the humble people.
Okay. So what did he say here? It's not I'm making up text. That's what's written. Yes?
It says what you said in Torah, Tom. That
right.
You got to deal with people in their language and the way they're going to...
When I serve in Gaza, I can talk the same way as I talk when I visited Belgium. It's a different language. So when you're dealing with Laban, you have to behave accordingly. Why? Because if you behave like Jacob behaved early his part of his life, the guy take advantage of him. Playing around, don't pay wages, abuse him, doing all kind of horrible things to him. So King David said, with someone who's pure, wholehearted man, you act wholeheartedly. With pure, act purely. With the crooked, you act perversely. Simple.
And then, you know what, that goes back to...
So you can say, you can say that they always painted Jacob good and Laban bad. I don't think that's correct, because, number one, it's not how they painted, it's what they try to teach out of the text. And what they try to teach, that's the question that we have to ask ourselves all the times, is to understand the difference between the character, the model of Esau and the model of Jacob, the model of Laban and the model of Jacob. What does that mean? It's not to say that Jacob was, absolutely angel of God. It's to say that there are different circumstances and different reactions, and what's the proper Jewish response, or what's the proper teaching over different challenges in life. So, for example, the character of Esau is a character of a person that all the goal of his life is career, money, etc. Nothing else. Don't you know people in your life that all the goal of their lives is to have fun, to travel, to have money, and to have very selfish, materialistic life? Right. I must tell you, as a side note, as a chaplain, many times I have the privilege to visit assisted living and senior citizens' home. One time, and unfortunately it doesn't happen once, but I heard it one time clearly, it was a fellow, not even 80, sitting, and his daughter and son, the other room, talking. And the father was like next bed to someone I visited, and the father was like, so hard for me to sit, so hard for me to lie down in the bed, was really... And the children one said to the other, when he die? When just drop dead? So imposing. And the other said, so you're waiting for the will? And she said, why not? What else left? Who needs him? I heard that.
So what's
Now, you have a Jewish teaching of Jacob that said, if you educate them, you have somebody who say Kaddish for you, you have somebody who light candles for you, you have someone who, give tzedakah for your memories, we have somebody who do something for you. That's the key point between Jacob and Esau. It's not to point that Esau, in a sense of personal character, is all bad and Jacob's personal character is all good. Is what is that applied to us as a learner? And the character, put aside the divine point, put aside the question of accuracy, think much deeper in a sense of what this has to do with me in my life today. You are dealing with a world of media, right? The world of networking, the world of electronics and materialistic world. And in this world, what makes someone important, you just need to open soon to be the new secular year, and you see the 10 most successful people, the 100 most richest people, the most affluent stars, etc., etc. You go to observant Jewish home, you see pictures of rabbis, very unattractive, with a white beard, sitting with the book, studying Torah, like this picture over there, whatever, right? And you said, what in the world is going on? Well, the parents who have a little brain, they understand that what is really Yaakov in that sense of character, what is really important in life. Esav, in a sense of painting a picture of a person, they want to make it crystal clear, like black and white in that sense, crystal clear the difference between the character. That's the key point.
All right, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
But going back a tiny little bit, gave the suit to Esau, and you said, sell me the birthright. Was that meant to be, was he actually serious? He wanted something specific, or it was more as a, kind of a joke?
Well,
He wanted that, it was important enough that he wanted...
I assume you know the answer, that is a different opinions, and it's a different interpretations. But what I try to say today is, whatever the interpretation is, if you really meant it and it was really contract or it's not, etc., in that sense of today's lesson, it's secondary. What's really important is what was valuable to one person while another person is degraded and worth it as nothing. What for one person, for one child, it's very important, the family lineage, the door vador, who carry the mission, who is important to carry on, etc. Right? Like Sarah came to Abraham and she says, who is the child going to be after? And we read in Rosh Hashanah that God said, you listen to Sarah, Isaac will be the next one. The point is, Esau have the potential in that sense to be the firstborn. But the way that he treated his value, the way that he behaved, is basically belittle all of that. He didn't consider that as something important. So, let's say, for example, you take this beautiful Bible and you give it to someone who's all his life he cares only for, for the sake of understanding music and girls. And you give that bar mitzvah boy or you give that person adult this book. It's a field of dust 20 years later, nobody cares. You bury it after 20, 30 years. Versus you give it to someone who cares, he values it. So in that sense, what the Torah tries to teach us is not what exactly the contract between the two brothers for this specific understanding. Is the idea what is valuable and what is not valuable, and what happens if you belittle or degraded something that is valuable, and the consequences of that. Now, Esav never fights in a sense of showing himself as a real character, of someone who really interesting in that and really wants to partake of that. His focus in his life was, if you read carefully the whole text, just the text, is a focusing of materialistic world. So he gets what he wants. That's the point. So if you think 20, almost 12, all right, that's the world we live. That's the point that Torah tries to tell us, that you live in the world. If the materialistic world is important for you, and you don't understand that everything is like King Solomon called it, Hevel Avalim, vanity of vanity, in the book of Ecclesiastics. You know what is Hevel Avalim, by the way? Hevel meaning you bake something in the kitchen. You put in the some delicious. So you see a smoke coming out, right? And bring a beautiful, great fragrance of odor in the kitchen, you right? And you smell, great soup is coming, right? So that's called in Hebrew Hevel. Why? Because in a few hours, gone. So King Solomon called in Ecclesiastic a behavior of Esau, a behavior of Laban, he called it Hevel Avalim, vanity of vanity. You tell me that there is no people in this world that all the purpose of life, between cosmetic surgeries and Hollywood stars right? And celebrations of different parties and making money, if that's is anything else more than these items in their lives. So the Torah tried to tell us, look what happened with people that strive all their life for something, and look what happened to people that have their life as a minority. There's very few different. So on one hand, the Torah tells us, be careful. If you want to be like Jacob, remember, there are many bad people out there that take advantage of you. So don't be so stupid to let them, use your gullible character and take advantage of you. Be strong and stand for your right. On the other hand, you should realize that that's the world you live with. The world of Esau, the world of Laban, the world of Jacob. And again, it's not to say that all the other points are not valid. It's to go a little higher and to understand that the Torah is not just history books that dealing with some rabbis that wrote or others, that say that it's divine message. You go much higher than that. You understand that all involvement with Jewish teaching of Mishnah and Talmud and rabbis is dealing with, so what this has to do with me in my life. I would like to conclude with one word, which I think it's carry a lot of messages, and it's very short. The Torah tells us in page 69 that Jacob lifted his feet and he went to the land of the Easterns, and look and behold a well in the field, and behold 3 flocks of sheep lay there beside it, and from there it was the well, the water of flocks, and stone over the mouth of the well was large. So Jacob saw all these flock assemble, and he saw the shepherds around the well, and he said to them, my brother, where are you from? And they said, we are from Haran. He said to them, do you know Laban, son of Nahor? They said, yeah, we know. So he said to them, is it well with him? They said, yeah, he's well, and see, his daughter Rachel is coming to the flock. So he said, look, the day is still long. It is not yet time to bring the livestock in. Water the flock and go on gazing. And they said, we'll be unable to until the flocks will be gathered and they roll the stone off in the mouth of the well, then we can water the flock. Now imagine a picture. You go to some place, unknown country, you see a construction going on, and you see a group of people working on the constructions. Not always nice people. And a stranger goes to them and says, guys, why are you sitting here and do nothing? It's the middle of the day, you should do some work. What are you expecting to happen to that guy? Right? The Torah tells us that Jacob was a stranger. He came there. He see around the well all these shepherds sitting there. And he is giving them like word of admonition and musar, like rebuking them, says, the day is still in the middle of the day, and what are you doing? And they said to them, we were unable to until the flock will be gathered here and roll the stone back, and then we can go back to work. How come that happens? So the rabbi said, there is one word here. When Jacob started the conversation in sentence 4, Vayomer lahem Yaakov achai. Jacob said to them, my brothers, where are you from? Which means he starts by saying, my brothers. So when you say to someone in such a lovely statement, hi brother, then they look at you differently than someone who's just a stranger come to criticize them. So the rabbis go at length to tell us this a very important lesson, that if a person wants to imitate the character of Yaakov, or if you want to accomplish something, to say something that it's even a word of admonition to someone, it's not like Esther Rosenblatt used to say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. In other words, if you come to a person, you hug that person, you say, my brother, how are you doing, how are you feeling, and then you say something, then it's different than just go there and come with a very strong of word of admonition. So I heard once about the Rosh Yeshiva. It was the Rosh Yeshiva of Ponevezh. He came to collect money for the yeshiva, so we went to Manhattan, New York, and he was looking for a parking spot. It was 5 to 10, and there's no parking. In Manhattan it's hard to find a parking spot. So I heard a story from Rabbi friend. So he said to the driver, park here, the front of the building. So the driver said, Rabbi, I can't park there. That's the man we're supposed to meet. It's the president parking spot. You can't park here. He says, don't worry, park there. So they parked the car. They went up in the elevator. They went in the building, the meeting. The guy sitting in the office, and he called them in, 10 o'clock. They start talking. Suddenly, one of the administrators came and said to the president, you know what's happened? These rabbis that just came here, you know, they parking on your spot downstairs. And the guy was really furious. He said, you know, that's really chutzpah, you know. You came to collect money and you parked in my spot. So Rabbi Kahneman went to him and he said to him, you want to know the truth? Nothing is permanent in this world. God gives, God can take away. God give you today money, tomorrow He can take it. God give life, God can take it. God can do everything He wants to, you know. There is a guy that came to a rabbi, my teacher, and he said to him, if God, you know, control everything, I have news for you. I have money in Switzerland, I have money in Belgium, I have money in France, I have money all over. I don't have money just in Israel. So the rabbi said, so he said to the rabbi, so how in the world God, you know, I cannot get bankrupt and God cannot take all the money from me? So the rabbis look at him and says, yeah, the rabbi can, it's very simple, God can take your life, that's it. He doesn't need to collect all your money from all these locations. So basically Kahneman looked at him, Rabbi Kahneman, and said to him, you know that nothing is permanent. At this point you don't need your spot, so somebody else park in your spot. Another moment you need it, transfer it to you. So the guy have a big smile on his face and signed very nice check. And I was wondering how Rabbi Kahneman made it happen. And the truth is, those who know him, he has the personality of love, like Jacob. Achai, my brother, you know, hugging, kissing, befriended, warmth, personality in such a level that he was able to teach or to give a word of admonition even to people who usually don't accept from anyone. So a person, in order for a person to reach to his children or other people a word of admonition, need to remember the key point is Achai, is my brothers. If you go there, even a stranger as Jacob, you can accomplish a lot.
Thank you. Like you were saying, sometimes in different countries you have to behave differently. This always worries me. What if, like, a song and a dance and a smile and being something like that? What if they don't understand that? What if they only understand, like, hate and mean and
it's a good question.
They take it as a sign of weakness.
It's a good question.
You have to act, but hope that Hashem knows that you're not really like that and He's not going to put you in the wrong book. Or do you always just go with like, okay, this is who I am and you better just accept me for who I am?
One of the beauty in Judaism is you don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to accept everything in that sense. And you can still go on and on and on and on with you know, with agreement of disagreements.
But
you know
really
what I mean?
You should just try to be what Hashem wants you to be all the time.
The key point we mentioned last week before, the concept of duality that Soloveitchik speaks a lot, is the idea that a person should do whatever the family or the community asks him as individual, while he keep his, you know, personal feeling or individuality by himself, which is the two conflicts of, he call it cognitive and homo religiosity, the two opposites, while he maintain, you know. So in other words, I can do whatever the community or the family asks me to do, while I personally disagree with some things. So it's not, like in Judaism, it's not a bad thing. It's normal.
When you said, I was in special forces, and if you don't pass out, you can do it. Like, maybe that's not how you normally,
well,
you know,
for example. All right.
Travel well.
Thank you.